Aaron Tuttle here. It's storm season in Oklahoma, and with that comes torrential rain, high winds, and hail. To protect your home and your family from these threats, the one roofing company you should trust is Ferguson Roof Systems. They've been providing the best in roofing services for nearly half a century. Ferguson is Oklahoma's full-service roofing company, certified with an A+ Better Business Bureau rating and a 5-star rating on Google. And with Ferguson now offering Class 4 impact-resistant shingles, now is the time to trust them with your home's roof. Get started today at FergusonRoofSystems.com.
Happy Friday to you. It is the weekend. Thanks for joining me, Meteorologist Aaron Tuttle, talking about the weather for the upcoming Saturday events you might have outdoors. Also talk about the mall. I'll be out there at Woodland Hills Mall in Tulsa, and we'll see how, of course, the rest of the weekend looks and on into the Eclipse. So we'll update all that information, see if anything has changed that you might need to know as you plan your festivities. So thanks for tuning in here on this Lunchtime Live. It'll be about a 10-minute broadcast, and then you can go about your merry way and eat your PB&J, whatever you're having today. Something, it's funny is when you're a kid, you have that a lot, and then as you get older, it's like that memory that pulls in, like some kind of euphoric, back when times are much simpler and you had zero responsibility, and that PB&J kind of excites those little brain connections. You're like, oh, I like PB&Js. That's all what it's about. All right, let's take a look outside. Oh, by the way, thanks for joining me on YouTube. You guys out there in YouTube land. So sorry, a little shout out to you guys. Jeff, Jim, Eduardo, Eric, Brandy, Stephanie, all of you guys coming in. Also Rumble. Thanks to you guys. And of course, YouTube and or Facebook, all my peeps there as well. All right. Shell, forehead is healing nicely. I don't know about that. See, that's a nasty scar. I had a lymphoma removed, and I told Jody this morning, I said, man, that thing's nasty. So I don't know how long it's going to take to heal, but whatever. All right, let's take a look outside. Currently, we have a little bit of clouds, but otherwise a lot of sun. Temperatures already warming up into the low to mid 70s out there across Oklahoma. Man, it is shaping up to be a nice day. It's going to be a little on the breezy side, but you know how that goes. We can handle that. Also, in the comment section of Facebook, let me put the link to where you can join the Facebook broadcast channel. If you haven't done it yet, give it a shot. That way you don't miss a live broadcast, whether I'm live like this or I'm live when it comes time to talking about severe storms, because you don't want to miss that for sure. Speaking of which, let's jump into that. We do have a risk of severe weather that's showing up right now from the Storm Prediction Center across southern Nebraska and Kansas. Doesn't quite dip down to Oklahoma yet. We'll see. Right now they have it still in a marginal risk across our region. Not a big threat for tornadoes with this time around. You see the low green shading. Again, I think this will be dropped south a little bit. And there's the wind and there's the hail. So kind of a low magnitude event due to the lack of decent moisture that's in the forecast by the models. But what we do have is a lot of dryness out there. Therefore, an extreme fire danger as we head into the western third of Oklahoma, pretty much Clinton north and south, Woodward, Altus, Eric, Sarah, all you guys included in that, as they have an extreme red flag threat index. Basically what that is, just an indication or an indice where you combine certain elements such as temperatures, obviously a warm day up to around 79 degrees they have in the forecast, relative humidity as low as 12%, winds gusting up to around 50 miles an hour. So that means any fires out there in that situation will obviously have a problem because they will spread quickly. So wind gusts again across the state on Saturday will be quite gusty, in excess of 30 to 40, even 50 miles per hour, especially as you travel farther to the west. We mentioned on Saturday also a little threat of a severe weather. Again, I think personally that this will be back into kind of in this region here. So I think this will retrograde, and I'll show you why. And I think we might even get a slight risk out of it. I think we should, but we'll see what happens. Again, it all depends on the timing of the moisture. Regardless, the earliest start in this little zone here will be about 4 o'clock. So from 4 o'clock onward is fair game for any type of severe weather. As we talked about on Monday, there'll probably be a little bit of storm activity late day. Right now, the models are increasing instability in this zone, depending on which model you pick. So Monday might be a little surprise event for severe weather. We'll see what happens. But that'll lead to some rainfall on into Tuesday, some good rainfall as well. So if you're needing to kind of put out some fertilizer, etc., you're going to get more rain for that. All right, here's a look at the upper levels of the atmosphere. So our big storm system is up here across the central part of the plains, kicking out for Saturday afternoon and evening. We're on the tail end of it down here, which usually means we're far removed from a lot of the strong lift in the atmosphere, so we have more of a subtle lift. But we are in a southwest flow aloft, and we do have some heat and obviously some moisture to work with and a dry line. So we can also fire storms off that way. If you do look at the mid-level lift at 700 millibars where the dry line would be positioned, and you get really good lift right here. We see this bright red color. So we do have, should be enough to get storms to go along with convergence on the dry line. Now, the issue obviously is quality moisture, and that is why you have not seen a higher magnitude threat level of storms. We like dew points to be in the 60s, widespread across Oklahoma for that. They can get away with some lower dew points when you travel farther north, but every part of the country has its sweet spot of what it needs for magic ingredients for severe weather. Ours happens to be mainly to the 60s or so. All right, well, if we look at different models, I want to show you where the dry line is positioned. So we'll start here. So here's the idea position. And this is your theta E axis ribbon moisture coming this way with a good strong south wind. And of course you have a good westerly wind here. So you have a lot of convergence along this dry line with strong winds. All right, so let's go to different models. So there's one here, 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 here. Ooh, a little west. Here, 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 here. West. Here, here, west. Here, west. Here, here, and here. All right, so the bottom line is most of the models were a little bit to the east. Only one was west. Now we've got, 4 in there that have gone west. That's a typical bias in the models. They shove the dry line too far east, meaning we should have the dry line set up pretty much right along the I-35 corridor, just a little bit west of there. So that would put the Oklahoma City metro area in the path or any developing storms. Now, they may not get going gangbusters until they just get east of the metro, because there is some time that they have to grow, build, etc. Just depends on how fast they can get going. We do have in the upper levels of the atmosphere at 300 millibars a nice split flow. So you have one part of the jet stream that does this, one part of the jet stream that does that. That's classic flow to evacuate the air upstairs to help to produce a nice strong column of lift. At 500 millibars, you have a nice speed max going through the state. Now, currently, it's kind of favoring this portion, so Kansas into far northern Oklahoma, but we're still on the tail end of it here in south. It's just not a direct shot, but it's close enough. As long as those winds are increasing, that's good for storms. 850 millibars of a nice signature for low-level jet coming in, which we did not have on Monday's event in time. It was too late to the party. And here's a look at 925, which also indicates a good strong surface wind as well. So we didn't have very strong low-level shear on the last event. This one we will, which is important because we have lower Cape values. Lower Cape values because we have lower dew point values, lower humidity to work with. If we do look at what we call the significant tornado parameter, in other words, it's kind of a basket of ingredients to find out where's the most likely area for a potential tornado. If we flip through the different models, just kind of want you to focus on basically the edge of where that dry line would be. So if you can picture the dry line here in central Oklahoma, where all that moisture pools, that is why you have a slight enhancement in that area. And this is at 7 o'clock on Saturday. Just pick this time just to show you that this is kind of like the time where the moisture comes in last minute. But we might already have some storms going by then. But regardless, here's one, here's another, here's another, here's another. You see how it kind of stays in the same area on the west side? Here's another one, another one, another one, another one. So we're kind of, and this is very light. In other words, these indices on the scale, you know, it comes from the low end all the way to high end of a value of an 8 or 9, and we're down here in the 1s and 2s. So it's kind of a sleeper event. Again, that's just because of the fact that moisture is in question. But the storms do develop on most of the models. So here's the HER model here across central Oklahoma developing by that point in time. Here's the GFS. Here's another CAM model here, another CAM model here, another one here. And there's another one, another one, another one, another one. So the take home is that pretty much the most of the models do produce at least some activity, and they are structured in an isolated fashion, which is typical for supercell development. If we zoom in, just take the HER, for example, on its output. The only thing that I would do is move all this west to about this position. All right, so I would have these storms develop around this area and then look more mature west by the time they get to the I-35 corridor. And of course, they'll continue to be mature after that, just because this model has an eastward bias of too much mixing of dry air. So that's the only difference that I would make. So I would include the I-35 corridor in this for storms for Saturday. Again, this is at 7 o'clock, and they should be developing probably after 4. So maybe closer to 5:30, somewhere right around that time frame. So if you have any plans, by the way, on Saturday, you're good until that late period, and just kind of watch the skies for some thunderstorm activity. And if we look at the Texas Tech WRF, which I do like during severe weather season, the reason why I wanted to show it is because it also has that dry line out here west of the Oklahoma City metro area. So, and I like its position, and I like the way it looks here. So that is why I think, again, that the slight risk will be shifted to the south and to the west a little bit to accommodate the newer model trends over the last 24 hours. It also, by the way, produced some thunderstorms. If I show this to you, right here, you see how they kind of blow up. They have a tough time at first. They're a little anemic. There's a lot of mid-level dry air, and if there's not enough low moisture to overcompensate that as it mixes through the layer, those storms have a tough time to hang in there. So right here, you can see this little indication right there. You get some early development. I believe this is at, let's see, 4 o'clock, 4, 5, 6, 7, yeah, or 3 o'clock even. It tries to bubble up some thunderstorms at 3 o'clock, but they fizzle. It's just because we don't have deep moisture there. It's a race to the last minute once again, which is great. You want these races to the last minute because it means there's not enough stuff to work with. You know, it's just too little, too late sometimes. So that's always a good outcome when you don't want a higher magnitude of severe weather, including tornadoes. Anyway, so that'll kind of fall apart. But then as more moisture comes in, there's still some heat around, still convergence, and then it fires up again as we head into the 5 o'clock hour and 6 o'clock hour and 7 o'clock hour, and there you go. Now it's off to the races, and there's more storms during the evening that moves to Tulsa during the 8, 9, and 10 o'clock hour as they move on into southeastern Oklahoma through midnight, and then move out and fizzle as they go into Arkansas, as they usually do when they go overnight. So that is kind of a look at how your Saturday shape up. Sunday's looking good. Total solar eclipse is jobbing into that here real quick. Like I said, it's a shadow between the moon and the sun onto the earth. The timing of this is about 1:45 local time here across North Texas, 1 o'clock to 1:45 for the Dallas-Fort Worth area. Remember, only the totality over any given spot only lasts like 4 minutes or so. Let's see, and then we have, let's see, right here, 1:50 for southeast Oklahoma, western Arkansas, about 1:55 in the afternoon as you head up into northern parts of Arkansas. So look how fast this thing moves. That's what I'm saying. You don't have a whole lot of time to watch it. Duration of totality over any one specific spot. For example, like Hugo, Oklahoma, partial would begin at 1:12, totality begin at 1:44, and then it ends at 1:48. Then partial ends at 3:05. So the time would be completely dark would be 3 minutes and 20 seconds. So there's a lot of work, a lot of headache, a lot of stress, a lot of travel, a lot of money being spent for 3 minutes and 20 seconds over in this part of the country. So just kind of keep that in mind. And then we'll look at cloud cover here in a second. But again, that's the track. And it's going all the way up from Texas, of course, up to the north and east. And it looks like Texas is really the worst spot when it comes to cloud cover versus everybody else. Let's see. Oh, by the way, this is just a reminder. You're not supposed to look directly at the sun. Your sunglasses are not protective enough, they say. Now, I've never tried it. I never looked into it. But they do make special glasses for the sun. I do remember as a kid, sometimes we'd look up during recess. I mean, I'm talking, way little. And look up at it and go, boy, that's bright, and squint at it. And I can still see today. So, obviously, I either had a lot of growth hormone factors to rebuild that damage really quick, or it wasn't that bad. But I'm not going to risk it. I'm not going to be the one that tests it as an adult to find out. All right, here's a look at the jet stream pattern in the upper levels for our Monday. So again, the upper level low, southwest flow aloft, and that is what pumps in the Pacific moisture, upper level disturbances, and some thunderstorms eventually as that pattern unfolds and it gets closer to us. So what that means for us is then we have this gravy train of moisture that moves right over Texas into Oklahoma and Arkansas, even Missouri. And you can see here the saturation, looking at the European model, this is at 300 millibars. Just to show you, this is the high level cloud. This is like where you get the cirrus deck. It's around 100% humidity all across this area. Now, if I were just to show you what that looks like on a forecast sounding, in other words, what does that look like when you peeking underneath this one-dimensional map? Well, if I were to go to Dallas, for example, all right, we got to look up, this is the sounding profile in the sky that goes straight up with height, right? So right here and right here is our cloud deck. It's where these two colors come together, red and green. Oh, by the way, if you do wear red and green for the eclipse, apparently some freaky stuff happens with your eyeballs that only happens in that shorter period of time. So wear that if you want to have a psychedelic trip looking at each other's clothes. You can Google that to find out more. Anyway, so because this is saturated at this level, which is like saying it's at about 2,000 meters or so, it's pretty thick in Dallas. So it's going to be difficult to see the sun through that thick cloud cover cirrus shield. But at least you don't have any other clouds down here. And the low levels seem to be a little bit more mixed out than they had indicated in earlier data, just by a little bit. So there still might be some hope. You'll see, you know, a little thin through the clouds, but otherwise it's pretty cloudy. All right, what about southeast Oklahoma, for example? We'll pick on you guys down there. Same idea, very thin veil, but saturated of high cirrus clouds, but otherwise bone dry everywhere else. So a little bit better viewing in southeast Oklahoma than, say, North Texas. We go up here to Arkansas. Let's go to, say, northern Arkansas. Again, this is just assuming the European's 100% right, nothing changes, which, you know, we're still a couple days away, so that's still a lot. And again, a thin veil here, kind of like in southeast Oklahoma, otherwise bone dry. So it is what it is. We have to work around that. If you were trying to take a layer approach to that, this is a look at the European model. This is the mid-level part of the clouds, bone dry. This is the low-level cloud cover. And you can see that most of the saturation is down here, but you do have a little bit of low-level cloud cover, like I said, around the Dallas-Fort Worth there. That seems to be mixing out in the latest data, which is good. And then you have the high-level clouds. All right, this is the 100% saturation that's come in. Earlier models had that little sweet spot we looked at last night, right around here. And there's still indications it's a little thin here. It's not 100% saturation. So again, there's still some hope that this may not be all that bad as far as the cirrus shield in that area. If you're looking at different models, remember we looked at the European, so there's where it is, along with the track here. So let's see here. Most of this, you know, there's 65%. Like I said, there's still some hope alive, but it's not completely overcast, you know, in depth and thickness. But there's a Canadian, which is, it doesn't even know there's any clouds around. Boy, I'd love for everything to trend toward the Canadian. If it's so, it has been the outlier all along, and it would be the goat of all goats. The American model just says, forget it, just stay home. The Icon model has kind of like the European spots of some hope. The NAM model has come in. This is our shorter term model. And it's saying, you know what, actually it's not bad at all. I'm going to get so resolution on you that I'm going to pick areas where there's no clouds, period. And it does include parts of western edge of this track into southeastern Oklahoma and western Arkansas. So again, there's still some hope. In Dallas, though, it still keeps it on the cloudy side. But remember, this stuff can still just wiggle around and change just a little bit. Remember, 100 miles wiggle room is all it takes to really improve stuff. It's just, unfortunately, we're in that track that we're trying to narrow down, and the track is doing this every day in the data. All right, let's take a look at the blend. If you blend all the models together, again, we talked this last night, as you went from the northern parts of Arkansas on up, your improvement was obvious. And then here's the other Canadian model version, high-res version, same idea as its bigger brother. All right, if you go across the entire country, again, viewing areas definitely looking good across the Midwest here. A little spot here showed up in the data across northwestern Pennsylvania and then far western New York. Otherwise, good viewing up here to Maine in this region too. So far, it seems to be the best spots where you don't have to deal with cloud cover, whereas we're all a wild card down here in this zone. So no, it's not good news for those that did all that, you know, planning ahead of time and got hotels and all that. All right, here's a look at rainfall for that period for Monday, midday. So we'll draw the line in the sand here. This is the European, Canadian, American model. It's starting to actually produce a few sprinkles up here. Remember, the American model had just given up on everything. So it's already producing some light showers in this area. If I were to pick a forecast sounding, so that model that was hinting out the little green area wasn't for a shower, just for a ton of humidity. I mean, you couldn't see through anything with that. And even down here, the low levels, it's got socked in with low clouds. So that's why that's got that little signal. Let's see, let's go to the Icon model. Same idea, kind of mostly down here, although it does have instability building in central Oklahoma, so it might even have some severe weather down here breaking out later in the day. Let's see, there's the NAM and the other Canadian. So most of the substantial heavy rainfall, again, is down here across the southeastern third of Texas and into Louisiana. And so no rain really is predicted during the eclipse in its track for this area here. So that's some good news. All right, temperatures obviously looking good today. Should be already into the 70s, so we'll continue that climb up. And we'll be in the 70s for Sunday and Monday as well. And then Tuesday, a little bit cooler, not a bad deal. Overnight lows, you will notice a lack of any 30s. So we are finally past the hump of the widespread freezes. From this point in time, usually after Easter, it's always a freak occurrence to get a freeze. And we had our freak occurrence on, yesterday morning. So hopefully we're one and done and be done with that, and your plants will be happy. And usually if you even have a freeze after that, it's so light and so short-lived, it doesn't damage the plants too much. So that's kind of the way it is around here if you're new and you're planting and you're gardening and all that kind of stuff. So that's what I got for you. So then thanks for tuning in. Ron, thank you for the stars. Michelle, appreciate you. Brenda's also sending me some love today. Make sure Melissa's got the details on the eyes. It's so bright your irises constrict, but when the eclipse is happening, it's darker, so your iris is open, and then the rays can be squeaking through, but your eyes don't realize it without the brightness, etc., etc. Burn your eyes. You don't burn your eyes. So the Weather Service, though, did put out the saying. It says, if you're underneath the totality path, right? So you know you're in that spot where you got the complete totality. You'll know it because there's no light at all. It's dark. You can look up and you'll see stars. You can take your glasses off. You don't need it. It's not a big deal. And you have, like I said, about 3 minutes there usually for that to occur. But the minute the sun rays start to get on the edge of that moon shadowing, you got to put your glasses back on. Like, I mean, I don't say the minute, I should say the second, because yeah, you don't want to burn your sockets, your eye sockets. Anyway, so yeah, like I said, I'm going to the mall on for Saturday, so make sure you join me from 11 to 3, and then I'll probably try to stay to about as close to 3 as I can. I might pack up toward the end, like 2:30, kind of start getting stuff together to break down, because I got to haul it back to Oklahoma City. Obviously, we're going to have some storms to deal with in case there's going to be a couple of tornadoes I have to watch for. I'll broadcast live if that's the case. But otherwise, come out and see me. It's always a good, fun thing for the kids. The National Weather Service is out there. All the TV station guys are out there. And yes, some other players in the insurance, etc. that usually come to these events. And they have storm trackers out there, some other things. So if you've ever been one, take the kids out to at least experience once. They do that here also in Oklahoma City at Penn Square Mall, but they had to cancel it this year due to staffing issues. So they'll be back next year. The only time we really stopped doing it outside of that was for COVID, with the first 2 years of COVID, I think it was. And then they waited for all that mess to go away, which never went away. Apparently COVID's still there, but we all pretend like it's not, and we all go back our merry way. That's what I told everybody that was freaking out when COVID first happened. I said, what are you going to do when this stuff doesn't go away and it's COVID forever? You can't wear a mask forever. You can't isolate forever. You can't stop the spread forever, you know? And so everybody just gets it and goes, yeah, well, it's a factor of life. I'm like, well, yeah, where was all that thought, 2-3 years ago when the rest of the scientists were out there going, hello, what are you guys doing? But I get it. Everybody has their own issues and their own reasons, and health or age or comorbidities, whatever it may be. I get it. Humans are humans. So it's just one of those deals where it's still there, but we still go on our merry way because you have to, right? You got to keep going. So make sure you keep going and go to the mall. Come out and see me on Saturday, and I'll watch for stuff or any severe weather at that point in time. And I think that's about it. I'll probably give another update at some point for the eclipse over the weekend. Not sure when it'll be tonight or tomorrow or Sunday. But either way, make sure you be safe if you're going to travel. I'm hearing it can be quite a mess on the roadways. It may take you hours, what would normally take 1 hour, kind of a deal. Supposed to be a lot of people, and everybody's closing things down, so you might want to bring all your supplies with you in case there's nowhere to eat or nowhere to drink. Maybe there's no bathroom. You got to pretend like you're camping in the rough, I believe, just to play it safe. You might want to have some empty Gatorade bottles, if you know what I mean. That's getting a little TMI, but you can put your brain cells together and figure that out. It's rough out there. You got to do what you got to do. All right, you guys be good. Have a great rest of your Friday. Have a good afternoon. Thanks for tuning in. Make sure you like and share this video as always, and appreciate you watching AT's Weather. All right, take care.